the vast, untamed landscapes of North America, a creature roams that embodies the spirit of the wild, the bison. Majestic and powerful, these gentle giants are often seen grazing peacefully on the plains. But today, we encounter a bison whose story is far from serene. This particular bison bears a horrific wound, a grotesque testament to nature's darker side, a barnacle infestation that has taken hold of its body. As we draw closer, the sight is shocking. The bison's skin is marred by clusters of barnacles, their hard calcified shells protruding grotesquely from its flesh. These marine parasites, typically found clinging to rocks and ships, have found an unlikely host in this terrestrial beast, creating a chilling juxtaposition of land and sea. Barnacles, those seemingly innocuous crustaceans, are notorious for their tenacity. They latch onto surfaces with an iron grip, and in this case, they have chosen the bison as their unwitting home. The infestation begins when barnacle larvae, microscopic and insatiable, settle on the bison's skin, often in areas where the animal's natural defenses are weakened. As they mature, they form hard shells that can cause severe irritation, pain, and even infection. The bison, unable to shake off these unwelcome guests, suffers in silence, its once proud stature now a canvas of suffering. The barnacles thrive, feeding off the bison's nutrients, a parasitic relationship that highlights the brutal realities of survival in the wild. As we delve deeper into this unsettling phenomenon, we must confront the ethical implications of such infestations. Nature, in its raw form, is often cruel, and the bison's plight serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of life. While the barnacles are merely following their instinctual drive to survive, the bison becomes a victim of circumstance, a casualty in the relentless struggle for existence. This dark twist of fate raises questions about the balance of ecosystems and the role of humans in disrupting these natural processes. Our actions, pollution, habitat destruction, and climate change have far-reaching consequences, often leading to unforeseen consequences for the creatures that share our planet. In the end, as we reflect on the bison's plight, we are left with a bittersweet realization: nature is both beautiful and brutal, a delicate dance of life and death. And while the barnacles may seem like the villains in this tale, perhaps we should take a moment to consider our own role in this intricate web of existence. After all, if a bison can be a host to barnacles, what might we be hosting in our own lives? Perhaps a little humility is in order, lest we find ourselves in a similar predicament, clinging to our own burdens, unaware of the weight we carry. So, the next time you see a bison, remember it's not just a symbol of strength. It's also a reminder of the dark, often unseen struggles that lie beneath the surface of nature. In the heart of the Australian outback, where the sun blazes merciless and the air shimmers with heat, a scene unfolds that is both shocking and grotesque. Picture a kangaroo, a symbol of the wild, bounding gracefully across the rugged terrain. But today, this kangaroo is not the picture of health and vitality. Instead, it is a harrowing sight, a creature marred by a horrific wound, a gaping hole in its side, oozing with a mixture of blood and pus. This is no ordinary injury. It is the result of a bee infestation, a dark twist of nature that reveals the brutal realities of survival in the wild. As we delve deeper into this unsettling scenario, we must confront the grim truth of what has transpired. The kangaroo, once a proud and agile creature, has become a host for a colony of bees. These tiny, seemingly innocuous insects have turned into a nightmarish plague, burrowing into the soft flesh of the kangaroo, creating a hive within its very body. The bees, driven by instinct and the need to survive, have found a grotesque sanctuary in the warmth of the kangaroo's flesh, laying their eggs and feeding on the nutrients that sustain life. The sight is enough to make even the most hardened observer recoil in horror. The infestation begins innocently enough. A few bees, perhaps drawn by the scent of the kangaroo's sweat or the warmth of its body, find their way to the creature. They burrow into the skin, creating small puncture wounds that go unnoticed at first. But as the days pass, the situation escalates. The bees multiply, their numbers swelling as they invade the kangaroo's body, creating a hive that thrives in the dark recesses of its flesh. The kangaroo, in its confusion and pain, may attempt to scratch or bite at the wound, only to exacerbate the situation, allowing more bees to enter and establish their colony. The wound festers, becoming a grotesque spectacle of nature's brutality. The bees, now fully entrenched, continue to feed and breed, their buzzing a constant reminder of the horror that has taken root within. The kangaroo's body becomes a battleground, a struggle for survival against an enemy that is both small and insidious. The once vibrant creature now appears gaunt and weary, its energy sapped by the relentless assault of its parasitic invaders. As we observe this tragic tale, we must confront the unsettling reality of nature's design. The bees, in their quest for survival, have turned a majestic animal into a mere vessel for their reproduction. It is a stark reminder of the harshness of life in the wild, where the line between predator and prey is often blurred. The kangaroo, a creature that embodies the spirit of Australia. In the icy expanses of the Arctic, where the frigid winds howl, and the landscape is painted in shades of white and blue, there lurks a creature so majestic yet so hauntingly scarred, an emblem of nature's harsh realities. Meet the polar bear, a stunning figure of strength and grace, yet today it bears a horrific wound, a grotesque home for barnacles that cling unceremoniously to its once pristine fur. Imagine a large, powerful animal, usually embodying the wild's resilience, now marred by the unsightly presence of these crustacean invaders. The sight is shocking, perhaps even repulsive. It's a grim reminder of nature's dangers, driven not merely by survival, but also by the relentless cycle of life and decay. As we pull back the camera's lens, we delve deeper into this unsettling chapter of animal life, exposing the dark underbelly of a barnacle infestation. These barnacles, small shellfish that have mastered the art of gluing themselves to their hosts, find the polar bear an unwitting sanctuary. The creature, heavily laden with fur and fat, props itself on ice floes and hunts seals, its primary diet. But the warm, thick layer of fat, coupled with a mix of salt and fresh water, creates an ideal breeding ground for barnacles. With their hard exoskeletons and web-like appendages, these parasites latch on without a hint of remorse, feeding on the bear's tissue and drawing nutrients from its very life force. This ordeal leads to open sores and infections, a cruel fate for a creature that roams the frozen wilderness, struggling to fend off the predators of nature, as well as the unseen plagues that afflict it. What's more, as the barnacles breed and multiply, they embody a twisted rationale of survival, thriving on the misery of their host. And so, the polar bear bears its infestation in silent suffering, a victim lost in the immensity of an indifferent ecosystem. In a quiet pasture on the outskirts of a seemingly idyllic countryside, there exists a majestic white horse, its coat shimmering under the sunlight. However, as the sun's rays illuminate its form, a horrific sight emerges, an infestation of barnacles that grotesquely clings to its side. The bright, almost ethereal beauty of the horse is marred by the ugly, barnacle-laden wound, a reminder of nature's dark and mysterious workings. These marine creatures, typically found on rocky shores and boat hulls, have found a most unusual host in this terrestrial animal. The juxtaposition of this ethereal creature of grace, now burdened by a grotesque affliction, captivates the viewer and tugs at their sense of compassion and horror alike. Barnacles, small and unassuming at first glance, are quite the fiendish parasites. They latch onto unsuspecting hosts, using their hardened shells as armor. In this case, our equine friend has fallen prey to the barnacle's relentless grip. These crustaceans penetrate the horse's skin, causing a nasty wound that festers and bleeds, turning the horse into a living canvas of infection. The barnacles emerge as white, almost bleached anomalies against the horse's pristine coat, forming clusters that seem to grow with insatiable hunger. As they burrow deeper into the flesh, they siphon nutrients, robbing the horse of its vitality. One can hardly imagine the discomfort and pain this noble creature must endure as it struggles against these invaders, each step possibly sending shockwaves of agony through its body. Delving deeper, the barnacle infestation reveals a disturbing truth about our relationship with nature. Like a metaphor for various forms of infestation in society, be it greed, neglect, or the degrees of exploitation, we witness a battle between innocence and malevolence. Nature often reflects our darkest traits, with this innocent horse caught in the crossfire of a parasitic existence. The barnacles serve as a haunting reminder that beauty often masks a sinister reality. In the heart of a quiet, forgotten meadow, a haunting spectacle unfolds, a scene so ghastly it could chill even the most stoic observer. The silhouette of a horse stands in the twilight, its majestic form marred by a grotesque wound. This is no ordinary injury. A hive of bees has taken residence within the festering flesh, turning the horse into a nightmarish hive. The buzzing cloud that swarms around the wound, a symphony of horror, is a testament to the terrifying infestation. This is not a sight for the faint-hearted. The stench of decay mingles with the sickly sweet odor of honey, a nauseating perfume that signals the unnatural partnership between predator and host. The horse, once a symbol of strength and grace, now shivers under the torment of thousands of tiny invaders. Its eyes, wide with pain and confusion, flicker with a desperate plea for release. As the camera zooms in, the viewer is drawn into the macabre details. The bees, relentless in their mission, burrow into the raw, exposed flesh, their tiny mandibles tearing through tissue to create a labyrinthine hive. The wound oozes with a sickly yellow pus, intermingled with the rich, amber honey produced by the industrious insects. The sight is both fascinating and repulsive, a grotesque tableau that captures the brutal reality of nature's darker side. But how does such a gruesome infestation occur? Bees, typically seen as benign pollinators, are opportunistic creatures. When a horse sustains an open wound in an area teeming with bees, the insects are drawn to the warmth and moisture. A particularly aggressive swarm may see the wound as an ideal site for a new hive. The initial intrusion is marked by a relentless assault on the already vulnerable tissue, followed by the establishment of a functioning colony within the very body of the suffering animal. The viewer is forced